everybody, Spooky Marshmallow here, and I am doing something that I have not done on my own before, so bear with me as I am trying to figure all of this out, and I hope I'm doing it the right way. I hope it comes out good. But this is my first podcast, like actual podcast. I know on my channel you've seen, like I've been doing here lately, podcast style videos instead of showing my face on camera. And it's, I don't know, it's just something that I feel like I want to start doing. And so I am joined by my guest on this first podcast. And by the way, this podcast is called the Smorecast. So I am going to be joined in every episode, not just this one, by a very special personal friend slash family member of mine who shares my enthusiasm with the paranormal and true crime. And you will see I am going to have a true crime podcast as well that will be coming out as well. So stay tuned, you guys, and bear with me on this as I am just starting on this. I'm sure some things might change, as time goes on. Maybe not. Who knows? But so let's get started with today's podcast for the month. And there will be a podcast each month for each topic. So this topic for the Smorecast podcast is our first paranormal experience, and possibly some other experiences that we've had with the paranormal that have really just shaken us, or has really changed some things in our lives. But like I said, I am joined by my good friend Miri Massacre. Hello, Miri.
Hello, Spooky. What's going on?
So I am so glad you decided to join me today. And you have a lovely voice, by the way, I might add.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. So I am going to turn it over to you now for a little bit because nobody wants to hear me talk for an hour. So tell me about your first paranormal experience.
Got it. So I would say my first paranormal experience was when I was 12. I and some friends were hanging out, and we're playing with a Ouija board. It was our first time that I've ever touched a Ouija board, and we lit candles around the board. And so there was 3 of us all together sitting down playing. And of course, as children do, we're just thinking it's just gonna be fun. This is just just to see what's going on. We didn't really expect anything to happen. And as we're playing, we're asking questions. And then a candle right beside me, of course, goes out. One of the candles that was lit. And we're like, okay, that's kind of weird.
Ooh.
There's no wind. There's nothing going on in the house. So that was just strange for it to just randomly go out like that.
Yeah.
And then we're like, hey, show us a sign. And so we wait for a second. And then we kind of heard a noise. All of us look up. And we looked at the TV, and you could see, and this is gonna sound so crazy, but the TV was off, so you know how it's a black screen.
Yeah.
And it looked as if there was a shadow that had walked across it, and
Ooh.
then yeah, it was a little scary. And then after that happened, not even a couple seconds later, we heard this huge crash, and we went into our kitchen because we were in the living room at the time, and we walked into the kitchen, and we had noticed for no reason at all, her trash can had fell over.
Oh my gosh.
Just slammed to the ground. Yeah, so we were freaking out. And at that point, we're like, okay, I think we're done.
Wow. That is awesome. See, I would have been the one hell no, we're not giving in. Let's keep going. Let's keep doing this. That is right. Awesome. So you guys just ended the Ouija board session right there?
Well, it's funny, right after that happened, her parents ended up coming home. So, we got so scared because, we just had all these little things happen. And then we hear the door, and we're like, oh my God. And no, her parents finally came home, so we were like, all right, I guess we're going to hang it up. So,
oh, man.
It was more that just it kind of worked out kind of quickly, and yeah, that is definitely my first and most memorable, one of my most memorable experiences, I will say,
Okay.
with the paranormal.
So, how old were you when you did all this?
We were 12, I believe.
Oh, preteen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, and we will be doing a Smorecast episode on Ouija board experiences coming up. So, I don't want to dive too much into that because I want you to save some juicy tidbits for for once we get into that session too. But so, have you had any other experiences that have really just like been a real eye opener for you and like an oh my god moment?
For sure. So, when I was younger, I think I was probably about maybe 13 or 14 at this point. Um, I had been asleep on the couch, and I believe my mom was out. She was doing something, so I was just taking a nap. And I literally woke up out of dead sleep because I heard something like calling my name. I heard like Miranda, and like wake up, and um, when I got up, I didn't see anybody, so like it freaked me out so bad. And I ended up calling my grandpa after that happened, and it was really cool because he was very comforting and like had stories that I never knew about, his own paranormal story that he told me about. So, and it was just really nice to have that support because then I didn't have to feel like, oh, I'm just being crazy or I'm just a kid being silly. Like he was very supportive and very comforting. And I feel
Aw.
like at that point I became like less scared of things and like more accepting, and like I just really got into like my love for like things like that of the paranormal, otherworldly, like things, stuff like that.
Aw, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, how old were you when that happened?
I'm pretty sure I was about 13 or 14 because it was like right before I started high school.
And so, like, what other kind of experiences did you have, like, during high school, or, like, have you had anything as an adult? Have you had any, like, big experiences that just kind of shook you a little bit?
I feel like as an adult, I haven't as much, especially since I had my daughter. I feel like, and she's 9 now, so I feel like I definitely haven't had as many experiences now that I can recall as I did then, for sure. Like as a teenager, I feel like my biggest thing was like hearing stuff. Like I heard that voice, or like I heard it happen again. Like I had someone, there was like a little neighborhood kid who knocked on the door to like hang out, wanted me to go outside. And that time, when that experience, we actually both heard the voice, and it was like hello, and like it freaked her out because she's just knocking on my door trying to see if I can come outside and play, and like we both hear this voice out of nowhere, and we're like, oh no, it's kind of shook.com, but
Wow.
um, yeah, it was just nice though to have somebody else there too to like validate my experience and what I was going through, you know.
Right. Wow. That's really cool that she heard it too. That's rare
Yeah,
that that happens.
for sure.
Yeah. All right. Is there any other story you want to add?
I think those are the ones at least the most memorable that stick out, aside from the other ones I don't want to get too much into since those deal more with like the Ouija board stuff. But
Gotcha. All right. All right. So we will move on then. And oh my God, I have so many paranormal stories to tell, but I'm going to contain them because we don't want to sit here all day and talk about that. Um, but I would say that my very first paranormal experience happened when I was 4 years old, and I remember it plain as day. So we lived in a mobile home park, and my mom and dad always had family and friends over to play cards on the weekends. That's just what they did. And back then, which was like the early 80s, God, I just gave away my age. That is kind of what people did. Like you just, you would gather at each other's houses and you would play cards and drink and eat snacks and all that crap. So my parents did that all the time on the weekends. And I remember this one particular weekend, they had a bunch of people over. Everyone was, playing cards and everything, and it was time for me to go to bed. And so my bedroom was in between the living room and the kitchen. And if you've ever been in a mobile home, or if you've ever lived in a mobile home, the walls are very thin to begin with. And so you can hear just about anything. I mean, they're like paper thin. At least they were back then. They're probably different now, but they were back then. They were, yeah. And so I could hear, all of them laughing and talking and playing cards and just having a good old time. And I'm trying to sleep. So I'm laying there wide awake because there's so much noise that I can't sleep. So I'm just laying there. And all of a sudden, on my closet door, I saw 3 little circle lights. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And they were like in a triangle shape, I remember. And I was like, wow, that's weird. And I remember I couldn't stop staring at them because I had never seen them before. And so I was just staring at them. And then they started to move. And I remember they just moved all around the closet, the outside of the closet door. No particular pattern. They were just, flying around and everything. And then they moved to the ceiling. And I remember just watching these lights, and I was fascinated by these lights. I could not stop watching these lights. And during that time, while I was fixated on these lights, everyone had gone home for the night. And I didn't realize that until suddenly my mom, opens up my bedroom door, scares the crap out of me, and I let out a little yell because I was so focused on those little lights. And she's like, what is it? What is it? What is it? And so I told her what I saw. And she said, oh, you're just having a dream. Go back to sleep. And I was like, no, this is not a dream. I knew that it was real. And it upset me that she didn't believe me. I was only 4 years old. And, but then I remember I could go to sleep because everything was quiet, at that point. And so I just remember laying there waiting for those lights to come back, but they never did. So I often just wonder if those were my guardian angels, or, who it was that was doing that. But I remember a few days after that, I remember going to my grandma's house, and my grandmother and I had a very close relationship. And I remember I told her what I saw, and I remember her saying to me, those were your guardian angels, and they were just letting you know that they were there watching over you. There's nothing to be afraid of. And that really comforted me. And so from that point on, whenever, something paranormal like that would happen when I was a kid, I would always think back to my grandma telling me that. So it's interesting how we both found, some calm with our grandparents. You with your grandfather, me with my grandmother. Like, that's interesting how they were the ones that, were able to calm us down and let us feel like we were normal and not weirdos.
All right, exactly. And I love that.
Yeah,
I'm definitely getting chills, as your story, that's crazy,
Yeah, that was my very first one. And I don't think after that I had much paranormal experiences, except for once I hit my teenage years. And I remember when I was 16, oh man, the paranormal activity around me was just running rampant. And that's when I discovered that I am clairaudient. And it scared the crap out of me. And but like I said, so much has happened to me paranormal wise in my life that I could write a book about it, and I've often thought about writing a book about all my experiences, especially once I moved into a house. I'm not going to say where in Indianapolis, but it was haunted. The whole street was haunted. The street itself was haunted. But I'm going to leave that for another month story because there's a lot surrounding that. But I guess another paranormal experience I had that was a real eye opener for me and scared me to death. Besides my own Ouija board experience, but I'll save that for that month.
Yeah.
But I guess it would have to be while I was living on Cruff Street. My bedroom was in the back of the house. Well, I should say our bedroom, because by this time I'm married and my husband and I are living with my parents. And our bedroom was in the very back of the house. And I remember one night I'm laying in bed, sound asleep, and all of a sudden I hear my closet door start opening. And like, my closet door was one of those old, like, typical haunted house, like, creaky closets. So when you opened it, it did make that slow, like creak sound, you know. And it woke me up. And I remember feeling for my husband, and he wasn't in the bed with me. So I think he was in the bathroom when all this took place. But, so I heard that, so it woke me up, and I look up, and sure enough, my closet door was open. Now, my closet door was one that you had to turn a knob and open the door. So I'm like, okay, what is this? So immediately my mind goes to, there's something in here. So right after I have this thought in my head, this is how fast things happen. Right after I think that in my head, suddenly I feel the room start to spin. Like I'm getting dizzy. And then I felt my body physically start to move. And I had, yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, I had no control of my body. I couldn't hold my body still. My body moved, so I was laying across the bed and my feet were facing the closet. And then suddenly I was jerked out of my bed and hit the floor. True story.
Yikes.
Yes, true story. So my husband comes in and he's like, "Why are you on the floor?" Like, he's like totally confused, and I'm like, breathing hard, and I'm just like, "Oh my God, I got to tell you what happened." And I was freaking out. The adrenaline was on high, and so after I calmed down a little bit, I got back into bed. And off and on that night, I kept feeling the blankets being tugged on me, like someone was trying to pull the blanket off me. And I thought it was my husband, but he was snoring. I mean, he was like dead asleep. And I'm just like, okay, this thing will not stop messing with me. And so finally, I said out loud, "You need to leave me alone. Stop. You're not welcome here. Go away. Leave me alone." And then nothing else happened the rest of the night. True story.
That is insane. In that situation, I feel like I don't know if I'd be able to stay calm, but like I've definitely heard that, just being firm and saying things like that definitely helps.
Yes. When you can, because
and claiming your space.
Yeah, claim your space. That's the most important thing, is claim your space. But sometimes, and I know this from experience because I've had it several times, sometimes you are so scared you can't get the words out. Like, you can't speak.
Right.
So sometimes you have to, fight with yourself just to get those words out. So, yeah, I've been through a lot, and I can't wait to share some more stories of things that I have experienced. And so, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, especially that house. Oh my God. But, yeah, so Anyway, so those were just, a few of my experiences that I've had in my lifetime that really just shook me to the core and was real eye openers for me. And it's just, yeah. I don't know what to say anymore at this point.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Honestly, that's crazy. Like the physical stuff, I feel like would freak me out more than hearing them. I prefer that if I hear things, then if something were to actually touch me.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I've had more like, I've heard more than I've had physical. But I have had a couple of physical experiences. Well, just like my video, which is here on YouTube, inside Whisper's estate. I was sitting in the dining room and my camera had just shut off for no reason in the main parlor room. It just shut off, no reason. The battery was not dead, nothing. It just shut off. And then I remember I looked over and I'm like, my camera just went off. And as soon as I say that, my ponytail got, like, not really yanked, but started to lift up. Like I could, like somebody was behind me, like lifting my ponytail up. And like the whole back of my neck was cold. And yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
I literally get goosebumps as you're telling these stories, but I love it. Like it's so good. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. And unfortunately, like I said, like it happened right after my camera shut off. And it happened like there's also we picked up, that growl that we didn't physically hear.
Yes. Yeah.
But it showed up on the tape and it happened like after that had happened, after the growl had happened. It was just, yeah, it's very creepy. But fun. There was some stuff that happened at Whispers, but not enough to make me believe that it's as haunted as everyone says it is. I think it's just really hyped up. But I also believe that for Whispers, like when you go in there, you're going to get what you expect to get. You're going to get what you invite, I guess I should say.
Right.
So, yeah, so, you poke some certain things with a stick, you're going to get a big reaction. But we were all pretty mild for the most part, but we also came very prepared with crosses and holy water. So that's probably why we didn't have a lot of activity.
Right, that's true too.
So anyway, so is there anything else that you can think of?
So far I think that's it, just so that I'm not branching off into like other topics we're gonna talk about later. I think those are like definitely some of my main ones that I have.
Okay. Well, I think on that note, we will end this podcast. And thank you all so much for tuning in and listening. And there will be more coming up on the Smorecast. And like I said, we will be doing one each month. And there's a lot of good topics on the books coming up. And I hope you will tune in again. This was the first one, and so like I said, bear with me as I am new to this whole thing, and I mean, I've been a guest on a podcast, but not had one myself, so just bear with me as I'm trying to figure some things out. And so thank you so much again for listening or watching, and this is Spooky Marshmallow, and I want to say thank you to my co-host, Miri Massacre, for joining me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
All right, so thank you all so much, and we will see you next month. Bye-bye. Oh, and I almost forgot. Remember, stay spooky, my friends.